So, question for you first. Do you happen to have a guitar there? That's
I do,
kind of a
yes.
special, interesting guitar.
I do indeed have it with me here.
Okay, and have you taken that said guitar out of a special case and played it?
Quite a bit, actually, yes.
Okay, cool. We're going to have some fun then. Okay, so the guitar I've got is not the guitar that you have, right?
Yes.
Okay. This one's Builder's Edition 814 CE. I love this guitar. It represents a lot of what modern Taylor guitars are all about, right? It's like all the cool woodworking, bevel contour cutaway, the armrest, the B-class architecture, ultra fast neck. Like, it is quintessential modern acoustic guitar. Now, I picked this one up because I love what it represents. I mean, as Taylor guitars for 50 years, we've represented acoustic guitars that serve players well. That's our goal, is to build these instruments that serve players well. How do you do that? Great playing guitars, good straight neck, great fretwork, accurate intonation, reliable guitars, serviceable guitars. Guitars that work good on stage. In this case, an ultra high fidelity, like linear kind of voicing, dynamic. Those are all great qualities. I love that. But as a guitar player and a guitar maker, it's not the only thing that I like, right? We just had Thanksgiving, so we've been talking about food a lot. I'm a very good eater. I eat very healthy, which means I have a healthy appetite. Not necessarily that I eat healthy food. And our tastes are varied. I like different things, different sounds, different flavors. They pull different inspirations out of players. So what I've been working on for a number of years is to go, well, these Builder's Edition guitars, these Builder's Edition collection guitars, they represent the ultra Taylors, like the most modern, high performance, high fidelity versions of a Taylor that we've ever made. And what if there were a counterpoint? What if there was a counterpoint guitar? To go for as modern as this is, if there's something else, that's where this guitar comes in. So this guitar here, we call the Gold Label guitar. The Gold Label collection of guitars. This is a counterpoint piece. Sonically, stylistically, I don't know if I could say the word tactilely, the feel of the guitar, it's a bit different. And it's good. It's different in good ways. Hey, you guys got out there at Wildwood, you got a little bit of a sneak preview some months ago this past summer when you saw an early edition of what this guitar is becoming. Now, when I think about our kind of shared heritage as guitar players, there are a lot of different sounds and flavors that we enjoy. There are different kinds of voicings, different things that we agree on as, well, this is a good sound. And maybe they have personality traits. This is a good sound that's like this. This is a good sound but it's like that. And they're different. Well, I love that. And so I wanted to take the things that we're known for, right? Playing guitars, accurate, reliable, serviceable, accurate intonation, good dynamic range, all those kinds of things. Those are great attributes. And I wanted to put in a totally different sonority, different timbre, different kind of sound. Now, the place that comes from is some years ago when we launched the V-Class idea, our first iterations were voiced to be as similar to a classic Taylor personality as we could make them. So you look at that classic Taylor sound. It's clear, it's articulate, it has fidelity, it's well balanced. Yes, let's do that. And yet we knew that design is a more adaptable design that lets us create a wider variety of flavors. So, okay, well, let's first do what we're known for doing. Okay, great, that works really well. Now we start dipping our toes into the water. We started producing the GP designs. It's a little broader, a little more warm, still a very high fidelity kind of a guitar. Well, this is going a big step further. Well, here is a genuine counterpoint to kind of this modern high fidelity sound that we're known for. And yet it retains so much of what we love about a guitar. So if I play this one, like right away, there is something in the low end, the mid-range. There is a richness and a low-end power that's very different than any guitar we've ever made. There's like a ring to it that's just different. Go ahead.
And yet, at least in my experience, it's still clearly coming from that family tree. Like it's a different interpretation of E class, which I found to be pretty nice. I remembered a real early conversation you and I had about V class and how you felt like with previous bracing philosophy that you hit kind of the end of the road in a way. And you were really excited about the fact that, with this new bracing style, that you felt like you were at the very beginning of that journey as a result. And it's like, wow, there's all these different ways in which I can develop this and I can move forward with it. And so yeah, when I played that, I thought about that conversation from all those years ago. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is a very different interpretation of, that original journey there from how many years ago was V class started?
More than I want to admit.
Fair enough.
The last 5 or 6 years got a little wonky here. So it's really interesting because as I watch this continue to unfold, I go, there are parts of this design that are so clearly like a V-class character. To go all 6 strings, high on a neck, and all are perfectly in tune and well balanced with each other. The sound that comes out is so warm and rich. There's something that's immediately apparent that's different.
Sure. Yeah. Well, it was certainly the case for me as well. I mean, the first thing that jumped out to me, at least in comparison to what I'm used to hearing in a V-class guitar, is how much more blend there was, particularly in the mid-range frequencies, and that sort of just the wash of overtones you get when you just even lightly hit the strings. Whereas, I'm used to a lot more of I don't want to say honest kind of attack, but a very fundamental forward, almost like like a flat top interpretation of a lot of the qualities we enjoy about acoustic archtops.
Yeah.
And
Very much.
that's what I'm kind of used to hearing, especially up the high end on the V class stuff. And this one is interesting in how malleable the voice is. The original version of V class was interesting to me in that there was no way for me to not make that guitar sound thick, fat, strong, fundamental. I don't know, I feel like that guitar is a little more open to player suggestion in some ways.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think of it. It has to do like the initial V class kind of revisions or voicing. There is a lot of note separation. It's a very precise kind of thing where, oh man, I have like this level of independence of each note that's more like a piano or a great archtop guitar or something like that. And this is a design where if you just barely touch the strings, the whole guitar gets set in motion with this. It's like it's singing from one set of lungs, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
I mean, trying to describe sound is a futile effort at best.
Yeah, but it's fun making the attempt, and
Yeah, we're going to try anyway.
yeah, just failing in all sorts of curious ways. But I just really I was also curious what made you decide to go with this body shape, because when I initially took it out of the case, I was thinking, oh, that's probably this guitar isn't really for me because of the size of the lower bout. And it's funny, when I put it on my lap and I started messing around with it, I was like, yeah, actually, maybe it is for me. Just because of how there's something about the pinched waist on that particular body style, and it looks a little bigger than it feels when you're playing it. And it sounds a whole heck of a lot bigger than it feels when you're playing it.
Those are all good observations. So it's a new body shape.
Okay.
There's a couple of pieces to this guitar. One of them is that, yes, there's a new voicing of E-class inside that actually derives some inspiration from early fan brace classical guitar put into the context of a V-class. The shape is a new shape. We'll call it a Super Auditorium because it's kind of in the same size range as an auditorium guitar. I mean, we've been building these Grand Auditorium guitars for a long time, and it's become almost synonymous with what Taylor is. And so this design actually has very similar dimensions. So if you put a ruler across it or a tape measure, you go, well, upper bout, waist, lower bout. It's pretty similar. It's like those numbers are pretty similar, but the curves that connect those dots are very different. So the lower bout is a bit rounder. The waist is a little, call it pinched or a little tighter. It has a slightly tighter curve right here, a little rounder in the upper bout. And so you end up with a shape that's a little more classically proportioned in a way it looks bigger than it really is. And because of that, you're going to contribute to this kind of slightly like a warmer, larger sound.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat code in the way the way the bass response happens on that guitar for how comfortable it is. It's not as common to get that kind of player feedback in the low end, low mid range and not have to really kind of work for it, shoulder wise.
Right.
So that was definitely one of my favorite features of that guitar. Obviously, at least for me, I tend to be a little more biased towards guitars with a really nice light touch responsiveness. And that was why before I played it, I was a little cautious because of the size of the top. And I was like, oh, I wonder how this is going to work for a guy like me,
Right.
And
yeah,
I was
playing finger style on a jumbo guitar. It's not always the most gratifying experience.
Yeah. Not all of us are Leo Kottke, So yeah, it was just a real pleasant surprise, just kind of playing it, like my wimpy light touch coming through on a guitar like that, and yet being able to pick up a pick and lay into it, and it still retains that same personality, just louder, And yeah, I don't know, I was really impressed with that. Yeah.
It's interesting to hear you talk about that because the way that a guitar speaks, if you thought about it as a mechanical amplifier, your experience as a player is to go, I'm going to put in some unquantifiable amount of energy. How hard will I hit the strings? That's really hard to measure and quantify. But then you can sense there's a qualitative responsiveness in the guitar that informs the player how much you're actually getting out of the instrument. Like, what does this thing do once it's set in motion? Now, this guitar gets set in motion very quickly and easily. So if you just barely touch the strings, it's going to speak with that same warmth and broad response as if you started laying into it with a strong fist. For me, it's a very gratifying kind of sound. And I could play open position chords, right about it, even just hardly touching the thing. It's as if what comes out of the guitar is more than what I put into it as a player.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Do you see this particular voicing style in this version of this, the Taylor experience, if you will? Do you see it playing well with others? Like playing well with the Grand Pacific style of instrument, or the V class as we know it today, or I'm not sure when people
Yeah, exactly. I guess I'll need to think of a way to differentiate them.
Yeah.
Make a mental note of that. Yeah, I like when you have instruments. It's fun to hear sibling harmony. That's great. It's equally enjoyable to hear different timbres put together. I like different kinds of sounds when they blend and they both get played appropriately to match each other. You go, that's pleasant, because it sounds like a conversation between instruments to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoy that very much.
Nice.
One of the other elements in this guitar that's very different for us is this is a new neck design. Okay, so this is a new architecture inside the body. It's a new body shape. It's also a new neck. Okay, so let me talk about that for a minute. For the first 25 years of Taylor's history, we made guitars where the neck was attached to the body with some hardware and a glued fretboard. That worked very well. That was a good improvement in the serviceability of the guitars we're making compared to a more traditional design. Well, around year 25 in Taylor's history, the NT or Taylor neck design came along. That was developed with this unbelievably accurate shim system. It was a huge leap forward. But now you have like micrometer-like precision over exactly where you want to set that neck. And for the life of the instrument, it didn't require open heart surgery to try and fix a bad neck angle or a neck angle that's moving over time. It was a great way to improve the accuracy and the reliability of those guitars. This, as I look forward towards the next era in Taylor's history, I go, I want to serve musicians even better than that. There's something that we should be able to do that's even more. And so for the first time, we're introducing a fully adjustable neck. So what I mean by that is you can turn a screw and the string height changes. It's an unbelievably cool thing. We'll call it an action control style neck, where for the life of this instrument, the entire setup, I'll adjust a truss rod to set the relief or curvature of a neck, and then I'm going to adjust the neck angle with the same wrench that I used, and that will adjust the string height to however I like it. You don't take the strings off. You don't even detune the strings. You just adjust it where you like it, and you go. Now, this is a long tenon neck design, so it allows me to do some things that I haven't done in eras past. Well, now I have a neck that is quite traditional sounding in the way that the heel structure functions. I've got a voicing that's a bit more heritage oriented. It's got a kind of a legacy to it and a shape that's a little more classically proportioned. When I put all those things together, it was as if I took a page out of a much older guitar making book than what we've done. And so the response is different than what we've done in the past, but kind of full of wonderful, responsive, dynamic quality.
A new traditional, if you will.
In a way, it is. And so for those reasons, I have this guitar, I go, man, I need to appoint it appropriately for what it is I'm hearing. The sound, the feel, those are going in a different direction. Okay, we need to complete that picture. And so for the first time, we're adopting a new peg head shape for this guitar. It's got a kind of a back cut headstock angle on there, more reminiscent of the 20s mandolin, banjo, early archtop guitar tradition. The sharp-eyed Taylor players will see like, oh, it's got some Taylor tradition in there with the side scoops and points. The center portion is actually something derived from my pre-Taylor designs. So kind of put a little of that in there, hand-drawn logo on the peg head, new inlay suede. Even the pickguard is borrowing an older like 1920s, 30s technique where you're taking celluloid, multi-layer celluloid and engraving into it to expose layers underneath. The whole thing has a little different approach to its qualities. So it looks like a cohesive thought.
Very much so. And what was your decision-making process with choosing the wood used for the bridge?
Okay, so the Honduran rosewood. We're building this guitar with two different back and side woods. This one's Honduras rosewood with spruce, and some we'll build with koa with spruce. This particular wood, I love the way it responds. Okay, if you think of kind of the mechanical impedance of metal strings into soft spruce top, you have kind of this interesting step down thing from that hitting a hard saddle, slightly less dense bridge. But there's a damping factor or lack of damping factor in the Honduran rosewood that's very unique. And so this combination of ebony fretboard plus Honduran rosewood bridge, it's actually something more common to see on like a classical guitar.
Yeah.
Right? That would be traditions to use a dense rosewood for the bridge and ebony for a fretboard. I like the way it sounds on this guitar. And so that was the decision is simply, gosh, it sounds great.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to do that.
Did you carry it through to the bridge plate or?
No, actually, this one doesn't have a big, heavy rosewood bridge plate.
Okay.
It's a little different than that. It's mostly spruce. It's actually a two-part design that's a spruce and hard maple.
Cool.
Yeah, so there's some very nice 30s technology in here. Putting the top braces, back braces on with hot hide glue, things like that too.
Yeah, nice and light.
Yeah, the entire instrument ends up remarkably lightweight.
Yeah, that was another. I was pretty surprised by that too. Just all the things you handle so many guitars all the time, working in this field, and obviously we're massively lucky to do so. Just the kind of, it's just interesting to kind of bear witness to your own sort of prejudices. And I see rosewood, and I'm preparing in some sort of subconscious way
to have strain your arm to pick it up.
Like all these little things that your body just does without thinking about it. And I almost hit myself in the face with the guitar as a result, because it's got a nice mahogany like like weight to it.
Right.
It's good stuff. And is that torrefaction for the top or
It is, yeah. So right now, what we've decided to do is, if we think of Builder's Edition collection as representing the the ultra modern tailors, I want a counterpoint collection of sounds, looks, feels that is different. Borrows the things that we love: great action, great intonation, great balance, but gives a sonority and a look and a feel that's different. So for that, we're going to use Hunter and Rosewood for the back and sides, roasted spruce up top, or Koa and spruce and roasted spruce. And we'll be calling these 814s or 814s. Go, yeah, it's a counterpoint piece. It's an auditorium guitar with these kinds of woods, these kinds of appointments. Just comes in a different package, different form.
And I'm not even entirely sure how to ask this question, but it's really, I guess what I'm curious to know is, did you feel as though using spruce that was treated in that way, did you think that was kind of almost like a non-negotiable to kind of get in the sound in your head for this instrument? Or do you think you could have done it in a different way?
It's not so much that it's a non-negotiable. Mm-hmm. Part of it is that I like the color.
Yeah.
Sorry to be so vain. It's a really pretty way to make a piece of spruce look, not quite so like a pair of bright white new sneakers. Feels a little better. I like the dimensional stability of it when the guitar goes through humidity changes. I like that aspect. Sonically, boy, there's a lot of people who want to argue on either side. And as a guitar maker, I can tell you, we can build a good sounding guitar with roasted spruce. We can build a good sounding guitar with not roasted spruce. So I look at it as just one tiny ingredient in the whole recipe of what it is.
Right. Yeah. Nice.
I mean, if you really want to get into the weeds of the matter, even our, call it non-roasted spruce, we've been using relatively high temperature ovens and baking and seasoning schedules for decades to make the wood dimensionally stable. Mm. And so it's just kind of a cooking recipe to go, how much color change do you want? How much reaction to humidity do you want? Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
So for me as a builder, I go, yeah, it's a tiny part of that recipe. It's one ingredient.
Speaking of tiny ingredients, did you do anything different with the bridge pins?
Yeah, these are bone.
Okay.
These are bone bridge pins because I like them. Yeah. I like them on this guitar. I like them on the color of a rosewood bridge. Mm-hmm. They sound cool. They fit a little bit differently. So yeah, there's some little guitar making tricks in there to go, yeah, this is just nice. Another one would be the pickup, the choice of pickup. I love our ES2 pickup system. It works great for a lot of players on a lot of stages. The character of it didn't seem to fit this guitar. I think the type of player who would love this guitar does not want the knobs right here. Okay, so this is opted for a simple undersaddle pickup, sound hole mounted controls. That way, if somebody wants no pickup or want to change to something else, well, you could take it out. There's no evidence that it was ever there. Mm-hmm. It seemed like the most appropriate choice for this instrument.
Sure. Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that. So when I saw it, I was like, that's fascinating. I got to plug this thing in right now and see what's going on here. What's going on in Andy's head with this new pickup situation, this pairing. And it was at least what I found, and I didn't get a chance to spend as much time with it as I would have liked, but the pickup sort of reflected some of the same kind of personality cues that I got from the guitar acoustically, which was interesting. Is there something different about the pickup used in that guitar than perhaps what someone could go and source and purchase to have put in one of their own instruments?
Actually, this one is a commonly available pickup. Okay. This one, I don't know if you realize, but Lloyd Baggs and I are longtime friends. And so we're using one of their pickups in this, at least at this point. Go, I want to build the guitar first and foremost as an acoustic instrument. Let me choose a pickup that would reflect, say, let's pretend that I was a player looking for a great acoustic guitar. Yeah, I got this guitar. I love it. I want to go play some shows with it. What should I put in it? Well, there's a myriad of available options. The one that seemed best for now, for the way that I think people would play this guitar, let's just use a simple element undersaddle pickup. Put that in there. Sounds good. a lot of our artists like running a pickup like that, especially on big stages. They work really well. And that way, because it's such a minimally intrusive design, well, if we want to change it, sure, change it. It's easy. The lifespan of this guitar, I could look at and measure in centuries. The electronics package that we put into it, I don't know that there's a pickup that's ever been made that would match the lifespan of the guitar itself.
Yeah.
And so for this design, it seemed most appropriate to do something very soft touch.
Yeah. Very cool. And I'm sorry for, like, every time you say something, it makes me want to jump in all these random places. But when you were talking about the sort of perceived lifespan for this instrument, it kind of made me think about, do you think a guitar like this, just in the way in which you've built it, as it breaks in, does it change in certain ways that may be different from the way I guess I should say, like, traditional V-class guitar would change over time?
Kind of similar. I mean, most guitars will follow a similar trajectory as they get older.
Okay.
It's kind of like fruit ripening. It'll get sweeter and sweeter and sweeter the more it gets used.
Okay.
They become more dynamic. They become more resonant. That's just a product of wood fiber aging the way it does in response to vibration. And so what I do know is this guitar sounding the way it does today, man, in a couple of years,
yeah,
that's going to be real good.
I can't even imagine.
That's going to get really good.
Yeah. Well, I guess I could go in a couple different directions, but I'm curious, how easy is it to adjust the action? I mean, what you just described there with that is fascinating.
So this one, if you look inside the guitar, there's actually a screw that you can see kind of down by the back of the guitar.
Mm-hmm.
You can use a truss rod wrench, kind of sneak it in there, one of those long designs, or an adjustable, like a flexible screwdriver. You see those a lot. Those are pretty cool. If you don't have one in your toolbox, you probably should. You literally put it on there and turn the thing, move it until you like how it plays, and that's it. You can do it faster than you could tune the guitar. It's really that simple, because that way I have a neck that sounds like a traditional acoustic guitar design, but for the rest of this guitar's life, it won't need major surgery. You simply adjust it.
Right.
I got to think that world over, that's a better thing for guitar players to have.
No doubt.
So it's interesting to look at something that's maybe the most modern technological piece that we've come up with in recent years and see it wrapped up in the most traditional form.
Right.
But that's how guitar makers do it. That's what we like to do.
Sure. Yeah.
It's inspiring. It's fun to enjoy and hear it.
Very much so.
This guitar, like I said, it'll be called the Gold Label Collection Guitars. This is an 814. Maybe one of the best ways to appreciate its uniqueness is put it next to like a Builder's Edition 814. Try them out.
Yeah.
Try it alongside guitars. It's fun to do taste testing that way and go, oh, yeah, well, I clearly see it when you go like that. It's a pretty special piece to us.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you've certainly created just the perfect amount of separation and thus validation for someone who already owns guitars of the V-Class ilk to add that to the collection, because it doesn't matter what they have. It's not going to sound and have the same personality as that one. Certainly.
Kind of like if we, as guitar players, we have all these different flavors and we have an idea of what the different sounds are.
Mm-hmm.
Man, that means that there's interesting creative middle ground of, well, there's some of this sound and some of that sound and some of this all put together in a package that serves players well.
Nice.
So yeah,
Love it.
I think you'll have fun with it.
Well, I already am. And I guess one last question. What do you guys see potentially for the future with this model? Do you anticipate there being other body sizes one day?
Quite possibly. Right now, it feels exciting to build more of these and put them out into the hands of players. But I can see a future where there is a bigger and bigger variety of all kinds of different sounds from us.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, Brian, it's great to see you. Fun to talk with you as always. I look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
Yeah, man. Yeah, likewise, man.
Take care.
All right, you too.